I'm discussing a section called as the ocean bottom relief, also called as OBR. Now, all you geography optional students, I'm sure you are very familiar with the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean and its relief features on the ocean floor. And some of you would also have ventured into Arctic Ocean. Okay. So fine, you have an idea. You know about the shelves, you know about the slopes, you know about the abyssal plains, a fair idea about the more locations, okay, and the details of the fracture zones, volcanism. So I think you all know these concepts. What I'm trying to tell you is how with all these information you can best score on such questions. A typical question which is about the ocean bottom relief, and we have had questions on Atlantic Ocean bottom relief at least twice. We had one on Indian Ocean bottom relief, and lately they also asked about the Pacific Ocean. So every 3-4 years cycle they keep repeating questions on the ocean floor topography. Though my guess is now they might start getting more specific. Like they can ask you about the mid-ocean ridge alone. They can ask you a discussion on the submarine canyons alone. They can ask you a note on archipelagos of the oceans, or maybe comment on the features of the subduction zones. So they can get specific under a 10-mark question. Okay. Now these questions on ocean bottom relief, how can you best discuss them? So rather than teaching ocean bottom relief, I'm discussing how can you organize it. Now, two things all of us know and we do write on. One is the features. When we say features, I'm talking about 6-7 categories of features. Every ocean has more systems along with the volcanism and the fracture zones. Every ocean, there is ocean margins. Ocean margins talk about subduction margins or the passive margins. Linked to margins are discussions on the shelves, the slopes, the continental rise. You know about the angle of inclination, how broad or not broad they are. Like the Pacific Ocean has very narrow margins, almost non-existent shelves, whereas the Atlantic Ocean has broader shelves, and so on. So you know about the margins. The third thing linked to margins are the marginal seas. The marginal seas you can comment on. Okay, Caribbean Sea, Mediterranean Sea, Sea of Japan, South China Sea, the seas. Some of them are back arc basins and some of them are inlets like the Mediterranean Sea. The fourth feature are the ocean basins. For every ocean you must know 4-5 basins. And most of them are named after the countries alongside. So we have Angola Basin, we have Brazil Basin, we have the North American Basin, okay, we have the Australian Basin, the Wharton Basin, the Arabian Sea Basin, the Pacific. You can talk about the northwestern, northeastern, the Japan Basin, the Central Basin, and so on. So know the basins. And the fifth one are the islands. Coral islands, volcanic islands, continental ones, sandbars. So along with the features of tectonics, you also have depositional features such as the sandbars, such as the material of the ocean floor, the red clay, the abyssal plain deposits. You know about the features like the continental rise. So make sure while discussing the ocean floor, you don't miss out on the corals and the depositional features also. I'll suggest you can pause the video and jot down the 5 type of features that I have listed down for you. The mores, then we talked about the margins, we talked about the seas, we mentioned the islands and the basins. And along with this I said, don't forget the depositional features. So I think for every ocean you have a fair amount of content for this. And second thing, you should be relating the features with how are they formed. So don't keep your answer descriptive. So when you say more, you talk in context of divergent boundaries. You talk about subduction zones and trenches, talk about tectonics, the sinking, descending limbs of the mantle and the collision. You talk about the trenches, the archipelagos, talk about OO collisions, coral reef formation with some theories maybe. So make sure your answer is not descriptive, it is also analytical as to explain why. You also explain, not just describe. So these two things I have seen most students getting fairly correct. Where people miss out is some discussions related to significance of the features. Every feature is related to some significance. It could be resources, it could be related to shipping zones, sheltered waters, shallow water, deep water, island passages. There are sea lines of communication. There's a link with marine biomes, the depth of the ocean and the marine biomes, the abyssal zone, the mesopelagic zone, the neritic zone, okay, the open oceans. Okay, you have something on marine biomes. They are linked to a lot of geophysical evidences that explain how the features were formed. So if I did not know the features of the Atlantic Ocean, I would not know sea floor spreading process. If I did not know how the basalt was formed, I wouldn't know about the process of how the ocean expanded and contracted. So a lot of features are part of understanding the geophysical processes. So this is about evidences of tectonics. And of course, you can relate them with disasters. Subduction zones, tsunamis, subduction zones, earthquakes. You can talk in reference to sheltered waters and how the water can't circulate because of the ocean configuration, and we can have warmer waters and cyclones. The hurricanes are also because the Caribbean Sea is partly enclosed. The Bay of Bengal has cyclone because it is again partly enclosed, smaller than what we have for the Arabian Sea. So link it with disasters, tectonic disaster, problems, and even the problems of environmental issues. So some of these features are related to polymetallic nodules, like the North Pacific Basin with its fracture zones of Hawaiian Islands, and we end up having more nodules. Okay, the shallow shelves linked to oil resources. So I've seen students miss out on the significant discussion. But the more common area that people miss out is the comparative description of the ocean floor features. What I mean by this is, say if they ask you Pacific Ocean, there must be some discussion in relationship to Atlantic and Indian Ocean also. And it could be one sentence, like unlike the Atlantic Ocean, which has broad shelves and passive margins, Pacific Ocean has narrow shelves, back arc basins and subduction zones. Unlike the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean that has active moor systems, Indian Ocean moor systems are passive systems. The process has now died off. Unlike the Pacific Ocean, which has lot of volcanic islands because of the hotspot, and so on, the Indian Ocean does not have as many active volcanic islands, and you can comment on that. So this comparative description is a very important way in geographical studies. In geography, a very important concept is the regional concept, where you compare features across regions. So if you consider Pacific Ocean like a region, compare it with the region called as Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, and so on. So please, wherever possible, try bringing this. You can compare moors, compare ocean margins, you can compare the basins, which is deeper, which is shallower, you can compare, okay, the resources and the deposits linked to the basins and the topography. The link to topography, you can compare how they impact ocean currents. Then, this is an important point. The lot of topography of the ocean floor and the margins in particular, the topography of the margins in particular can change because of human aspects. We are constructing artificial islands. We are dredging the coasts. We are creating artificial creeks. We have some of them in parts of Arabia. The sea level rise can submerge the coastal areas, and that also has a strong human angle to it. There are isostatic changes where the ocean topography, margins in particular, can change. And how all of this is part of a very constant dynamic process of the oceans evolving, creating, destroying. And to enrich your answers while discussing the dynamism, you can relate to some concept. Just have a passing reference to, say, the Wilson cycle. What I'm trying to stress on is your marks and your performance depends on how smart are you in trying to correlate as many things as you can while not missing the main focus of a question. And that's how your answer stands out. I mean, you could ask yourself, do you think anybody in geography optional who's prepared for even one attempt who wouldn't know the features and the explanations? Will there be anybody in the exam hall who does not know the facts about the ocean floor like Pacific Ocean? Who doesn't know the facts of the Indian Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean? Maybe a couple of names here and there. Otherwise, all of you have the same content. But what helps you score over others is these aspects. How you're asked Pacific Ocean, but you end up relating with Atlantic Ocean. How you relate the features with the significance, economic significance, and even the geophysical evidence's significance. How you comment on the features are transient. Oceans are not permanent. Oceans can be destroyed. On top of it, we also have a lot of climatic factors, eostatic factors, isostatic reasons, and human interferences which can alter the shape, orientation, and the nature of the ocean basins. It is this that makes your answer unique and credible and better than somebody else's answers. Whether you can write this or not, that's about your writing skills. But this is the content you will have to weave your answer around. So again, if I suggest structuring, maybe a few lines of introduction. You could have a map of the ocean in parts maybe if you want to have. You could start off discussing the features. So features more, compare with Atlantic Ocean also. Features like the marginal seas, compare with Atlantic Ocean. Features like the basins and tell us how they're different. Okay. You could have a section where you can comment on significance and you could put this under a table maybe. Which type of features significant for what aspects of knowledge and economic benefits. End the answer towards, okay, this was about significance, these are the features, and end the answer probably on the lines of the human impact, how the ocean configurations are further complicated because of the human construction and human modifications. So please try this answer in about 2.5, 3 pages. This should be a 20-mark question, okay, maybe 25 also, but prepare for 20 mark as in around 2.5 pages. That should help you ultimately tweak the answer if the question is rephrased in the examination hall. So happy writing, happy discovering the features of the oceans. Good luck.